It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
This is the first week of my 4-week intensive workshop that's teaching how to buy your first out-of-state investment property. This week, we went over how to find the right location. If you're interested, you can still join the workshop, and replays are available for the sessions that you've missed. Next week, we're going to go over how to find and build a team that you can trust. So if you're tired of the expensive market that you live in, if you want to learn how to buy affordable investment properties, go to outofstatemoney.com/workshop, and I'll see you there. So you mentioned a couple of times just like making calls, knocking on doors. What's that conversation like? Because for a lot of people, it might be nerve-wracking to, cold call somebody or just, this is the street. I'm knocking on all these doors. What's that conversation like with the potential?
Well, great
client?
question. But before I answer that question, for me, thankfully, I had a lot of experience dealing with people in the car business and selling luxury cars where I was comfortable with having conversation with strangers. And that's hard for a lot of people to have conversation with strangers, but then go to the next level, which you're knocking on someone's door, right? And not only are you knocking on someone's door, they may or may not even want you. More than likely, they don't even want you at their front door, right? And then you're going to talk to them about something personal, their finances, being in foreclosure. You gotta have some guts, and you gotta have some stamina and some nerves to be able to approach someone in that manner. But for me, my mindset is, you don't know that I'm here to help you and a level of value that I can provide to you. And what I focused on was the individuals that wanted help, not the individuals that were upset or didn't want me at their door, or didn't want me calling. I was always professional, and I never had one bad experience with anyone. However, there were some people that were kind of like, I'm not interested, but I never had one bad experience because my energy, my attitude, and my approach when I knocked on the door, I said, hey, I'm aware of your situation. I'm here to help. If you aren't interested in having a conversation about it, I totally respect it. And I left it up to them. And they would say, okay, well, what is it that you have? What is it you want to share with me? And I would go right into the value I'd had to share, how I could help them avoid foreclosure or restructure their loan for a modification. I referenced my past experiences in this space and said, if you'd like to have a conversation further about it, we can. And that worked for me, honestly. It worked for me tremendously. And I would say a lot of that just goes back to, having experiences, being in front of multiple strangers day in and day out, and really being forced to have those conversations, because if you're not talking to people, you ain't closing no deals. And that was my approach. You got to be talking to people to close deals. You got to be building relationships to close deals, and taking action and being consistent with that. And especially when you have a family and you have people that you have to support, you got to go get it. You can't make excuses. You got to say, all right, I might have this wall in front of me, but how am I going to climb over it? How am I going to go around it to break through it? Right. That just has to be your mindset. And that was my mindset. And I'm grateful the way that I was raised helped me to succeed in this space that I'm in today. And in those situations that I was in when approaching homeowners, out of the blue, basically.
Definitely. What I'm thinking about is just the value of having sales skills. It's funny, like I sometimes I talk to my wife, I'm like, I really wish I took a career in sales coming out of school. Yeah. But I feel like in the Black community, a lot of times, we're thinking about security. We're thinking about, let me get that $65,000 job out of school. I'm gonna get paid every week. Yeah. But I'm just seeing the value of having sales skills. I mean, I think it can help in a multitude of ways. So what's your opinion on that? Because you worked in sales for some time prior to real estate.
Yeah. To me, man, sales is about asking the right questions. You're never going to force someone or persuade someone to do something they're not ready to do. You have to ask the right questions to get understanding on where those individuals are, what their needs are, what their expectations are, and how you can help them. And then advise and guide them through that process to get what they want. That's literally what sales is about. And genuinely being kind and respectful to people. And I was in an environment where I got to see sales at a very high place, at a high level. And I got to see bad sales techniques, and I got to see good sales techniques. And what I did is I studied the actual advisors that had good sales techniques. I listened to the things that they shared. And what I just shared with you, one particular salesman who was very successful at a dealership I was working at, he told me, never lie to a customer, tell them the truth, help them get what they want, listen to what they say, or what they're telling you that's important to them. And then at that point, go and service the need. And I took that that information and just started to apply it to what I was doing in real life. And it was natural for me because I genuinely want to help people. So the sales process, man, is really about asking the right questions and then helping those individuals get what they want.
Definitely. So at a certain point, you shifted to the luxury, higher end real estate. When was that shift, and what inspired you to want to take that step?
Yeah, well, the shift, I would say kind of took place around 2012. I closed a deal that I double-ended in La Jolla, California. So if you're not familiar with La Jolla, California, look it up. It's one of the most wealthiest zip codes in San Diego, California. I closed the deal around 1.3 million. I double-ended it, and I made like $87,000 or $85,000, and that was the most money I'd ever seen in my bank account. And that changed my perspective on business. It changed my perspective on, well, if you can close this deal, right, in this community where people don't look like you, people don't oftentimes even engage with someone that looks like me to represent them to sell their home. I was like, how do you do this repeatedly, right? How do you figure out how to close these transactions? So what I did is I focused on getting knowledge and experience and education. And I took a designation called Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist. And that designation helped me understand how to communicate with luxury or affluent buyers and sellers, what I needed to do to position myself in the market, how to prepare my mindset to engage with these individuals. And fortunately, coming from a background of selling luxury cars, I was prepared, and I had the experience of dealing with an affluent buyer and even a seller, because someone brings their car and trade it in. You got to go back and forth with them on value, et cetera. So I had that experience and knowledge. And then what really tipped it for me is I started looking at the amount of wealth that is in real estate, primarily in your high-end sales. If you sell let's say you sell a $5 million house, that's about $130,000. That type of money can change lives. And so at that point, again, going back to my analogy with short sales, when I was selling in Texas, I'm making $3,000 to $5,000 versus 3 times the money. I'm like, well, if I'm selling a traditional home here in California for say $700,000, which in Texas, that's a lot of money, to versus a 10 million or 3 million and 5 million, man, that's a big difference. I'm still doing the same amount of work, sometimes even less work on the higher end side because there's less hand holding. So it was an immediate, for me, changing how I was thinking to say, now you have to prepare yourself. So I took the designation, then I also transferred from RE/MAX to Pacific Sotheby's, which was a very highly successful luxury firm in San Diego, California. And that's really where I got my experience and my knowledge. They offered various types of classes that I could educate myself in architecture. Wow. Because if you're here in California, period, you see all of the homes have different architecture, whereas back home in Texas, it's just pretty much ranch style homes, brick, et cetera. Pretty much they all look the same. Whereas here, every home has its own personality and no two homes are alike. So I put myself in an environment which was one of the probably top brokerages at the time, with the top brokers that are selling high-end real estate. And I studied those men and women. I watched their every moves, from their marketing to how they communicated with their clients. And some of them I met with and picked their brains. It was like going to college, right? Yeah. It was like going to go get my master's, which I have, but it was like, now I'm going to get my doctorates, right? And so that was my experience. And from that point, once I got that experience, I just got out and practiced. I went out and did what I needed to do to acquire clients from taking the information that I was learning from being in those environments. And then it led to me being to where I am today.
Definitely. When you said, I think you said you double-ended it. What does that mean?
That means I closed both sides of the transaction. I represented the buyer and the seller.
Got you. And then from a little while ago, what's a short sale for those who may not know what it is?
So a short sale is a situation when a homeowner is basically in default, meaning they can no longer pay their mortgage and they're behind, and the bank is basically giving them an option to say, hey, you can either short sale, which means you can sell the property for less than what it's owed, and we'll forgive you for the remaining balance or the difference that's owed and allow you to walk away from it. Now, the downside is there is a blemish that goes on your credit, but it's not like a foreclosure, but it still does impact your credit in an adverse way. However, it allows the individual to be no longer burdened by that distressed asset that's upside down. So typically in the short sale, the home has zero equity. You cannot sell it without coming to the table and writing a check, whether that check is for $5 or for $5,000 or $500,000. Yeah. Most property owners in those situations do not have the funds to be able to come to the table and write a check. So therefore, you're asking the bank to let you out of this situation. And what most people don't know at the time, in your mortgage clause, it allows you workout options, loan modifications, short sales, and deed in lieu of foreclosure. Those are your primary three options that you're going to find in your mortgage clauses that allows you a way out, if you will. Yep. And so I studied that early on. When short sales first came about, nobody wanted to touch them. Nobody was interested. Agents were getting out of the business. I was like, this is my opportunity to thrive and get into the business. So in essence, that's what a short sale is.
What's up, y'all? Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Thank you so much for watching another episode. Definitely take a moment to subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Also, visit our website, blackrealestatedialogue.com, and follow on Instagram @Black Real Estate Dialogue. Talk to you soon.